Welcome back. I'm Alex Helton with the Helton Real Estate Group, and this is Sam Dahl
What's up?
here for the Alex Helton Real Estate Show. And this episode, we're going to be going over what happened in April last month in terms of the market in Nashville. What else are we going to be talking about?
Well, we're doing something a little bit new this time. Normally, you just do like call it 2 to 5 minutes stats.
The weather forecast.
Yeah, we do the real estate weather. Hopefully more accurate. But we're going to add some conversation, some application to some of the conversations that we have about the market with people, what we're hearing. So hopefully you find that valuable, and always feel free to send us questions as well that you'd like answered, and we'll do our best to get those answered in a timely manner.
Yep. And one of the things we're doing is answering, as you mentioned, questions that that I'm hearing, that my wife might be hearing from her friends, trying to provide value to people that are in the market or thinking about being in the market. So looking at Davidson County, April of last year, we have closings are down. Williamson County in April, again over April of last year, closings are down. That's the common theme month over month. Year to date, closings are also down 13 and 10% respectively in Davidson Williamson County. Similar numbers that we've seen in terms of appreciation, right? Davidson County is up anywhere from 24 to 30%, depending on how you look at it. Offline, Sam and I had the conversation of which one of these is more meaningful. Year to date gives you more context for, like, there's a longer period of time, but this is sort of checking the temperature most recently. So it depends on what you're trying to get out of it, sort of dictates what's most important, right?
Yeah, because this number could, in theory, this number is a little bit more victim of the moment, where next month this median could be 440, but it wouldn't necessarily tell us that the market is regressing.
That's right.
This number is a little bit, because it has more context, it's a little bit more reliable. This does feel a little bit more in the moment, like it does show a little bit better where we're at today.
Yeah.
But it has more volatility, so to speak.
Absolutely. We're not going to put a lot of weight on that predicting the next 6 to 12 months. So it's really a similar story. Transactions are down month over month and year to date in both Davidson and Williamson County. Appreciation's up anywhere from, call it 25 to 35%. So if you're in real estate in Davidson and Williamson County, your net worth has taken a decent jump over the last 12 months, right?
Yeah, which, as for homeowners, feels like a really good thing. Building equity.
Yep.
So
let's talk about inventory. As usual, we go over inventory, and it's important to know that, for those that maybe are joining us for the first time, inventory is simply, if no other homes came on the market today, how long would it take for the existing homes to sell? And most economists would agree, most economists would say that having 6 months of inventory would be a neutral market. Prices aren't going up, they're not going down. If inventory, and inventory is always sort of ebbing and flowing, but 6 months is where prices sort of stagnate. For the last few years, we've been well under 6 months supply, and when you look at under 1 million in both Davidson and Williamson, well, let's just look at Davidson first. Under 1 million, you are under a month's supply. So this is April 1. So over the course of April, we see that things ticked up, right? Beginning of the month, you're looking at, what is that, like 2.5 weeks, we would call that?
Yeah, probably.
And then here we are at about 3 weeks in May. So a buyer and a seller isn't going to feel a noticeable difference out there, right? But if we're looking for, man, things getting less crazy, if I'm in the market and I want to sell my home and buy my home, this is actually a little bit, if this continues, Like, I want to see it get it closer, maybe not 6, but maybe, so
Mhm.
that I see more inventory out there, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, the feel of the market's probably not going to change a whole lot when we're going from like 2 weeks to 3 weeks. Um, but it may progressively start to be, oh, I don't have to make an offer day one to get it. Like maybe I can wait till day two,
Yeah.
you know? So there is also a really practical implication that's hard to predict, but real life, the more the inventory rises, probably the more convenient some of these things are going to be as far as buying.
Yeah.
Prices are still going to go up as long as, if this is the reality, and even inventory can go up quite a lot from here, appreciation is still going to be happening because that's still a really, really high demand, low supply.
Yep. So, looking at Williamson County, inventory is down under 1 million. What do you have to say about that?
Speculation, people want to live in Williamson County and are willing to act really quickly on it. So anything that comes on the market is just getting scooped up right away. Part of that is overall, when inventory is this low, people are going to scoop things up really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And there's just almost nothing available under 1 million in Williamson. I don't remember exactly, but it's something like 30 to 45 homes total available under 1 million. So if you want one, you got to go right away. And that's what we're seeing here.
Do you think this is do you think if interest rates had not been what they were, do you think that all of these would have gone up slightly, but maybe because interest rates impact affordability, those that were maybe slightly over 1 million are now taking these, maybe adjusting their price range and going under 1 million a little bit? Who knows? Who knows? Could be.
It's possible.
All right.
It is interesting. I would have thought, though, that especially in a higher price point, call it 900, because a lot of these homes in this category in Williamson are in the 8 to 900 range. It's really, there's not a lot available closer to 500. But I would have thought that as interest rates go up, that's obviously increasing the monthly payment quite a bit in a lot of cases. That may have opened up the inventory, but it's going the other way. And I don't know if people are trying to act quick because they're seeing the trend, and so they're like, let's get in now. But 0.09 months, what's that, like 3 days?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's quick.
it's nothing. So
cool. So who cares? What is this? What is it? Everybody's asking the question. What does this mean for me? Right.
I mean, yeah. So what we're hearing a lot, people go, is the market still crazy?
Yeah.
What's going on? Is my home still appreciating like at insane rate, at insane levels? How are interest rates impacting the speed of the market, et cetera? So what are you seeing out there?
Yeah. So common question is, are people still getting multiple offers, and is the market still crazy? And man, it seems like for the last probably 2 to 3 weeks, we have seen a slowing down, a little bit of I don't know what you want to call it, but 3 weeks ago, we have a client offers on a home, 35 offers on the home. List a home the same weekend.
We won, by the way. We beat out 34 other offers.
We did.
Worth noting.
We should talk about that in a different podcast.
Yeah.
How to win when there's 35 offers.
Just hire us.
Without it. There you go. Podcast over. Man, I would say the market is, when people think, is the market crazy, what they're asking is, am I going to be in multiple offers? Is now, like, if I go to buy right now, can I? I think the answer to that is it's still competitive, right? It's still competitive. We are still seeing multiple offers. And at the same time, it seems like things have gone from, I use just speed, like 100 miles an hour to 80 miles an hour. You're still going at a rate at which if you hit a wall, you're going to die. You're just going slower, right? Yeah. But it's still super fast.
For someone out there that's trying to buy,
yeah,
they are going to still feel like it's crazy, probably.
Probably.
And the difference, 35 offers is a lot.
Yeah.
If I'm making an offer and there's 35 or there's 10, it may or may not change the equation dramatically for me. The speed is slowing down, but 10 offers is still 10 offers that I'm competing against.
It is. Do we want to talk about any tips for these buyers that if I've got a home to sell and I can't pay cash and I want to move, do we want to talk about that at all?
Let's save it for the end if we have time.
Okay.
We do.
All
We
right.
want to talk about it for sure.
Okay.
Let's.
So if
keep with
somebody
the
says,
market.
is the market still crazy? The question is, if you're in the market, it probably is still going to feel crazy.
We do. I think worth noting, we talk about this a lot on the team and do a lot of work on how to position buyers really effectively in these multiple offers. So we've got, I think for today, at least for now, we can say we have a lot of strategies and do a lot of work on. It's not just a throw your money in the air and hope that a house falls down.
It could be.
There are that is one approach to the challenge of the market. It's not the approach we typically take.
Again, not the topic of this
Right.
this section, this podcast, whatever we're calling this. But I have had an instance recently where I'm like representing a seller and I get an offer and I'm going, what are you doing?
Right.
I'm not asking them, what are you doing? I'm thinking, what are you doing?
Right.
Easily avoidable. I mean, that's the downside of being in an industry where there's virtually no barriers to entry. Mm-hmm. I think if there was a MBA or something that was required, things would be totally different. That's never going to happen. And so we should create a podcast on how to hire an agent. Doesn't have to be us. There's plenty of good agents out there.
Yep.
But man, I see things and I'm going, this is a disservice to this client, and they have no idea.
Right. They probably think that things are going really great. But
yeah.
We're going to put a bow on that one and stay tuned for a future episode.
Yep.
So when we talk about speed and things being crazy, it probably feels like an obstacle for a buyer.
Yeah.
From a seller perspective, if I was thinking of selling my home, would I like that craziness? How would that impact me from the market being as fast or slowing down? What does a seller need to be thinking about in that related to the speed of the market?
Are they only selling or are they buying also?
That's a good question. Let's say they're selling and buying.
Selling and buying.
Yeah.
Is it a good time to sell and buy? Is that the question?
Well, why don't you? It is now. Go for it.
My first question would be, do you have a good reason to move?
Okay.
If interest rates are 0%, it's not a good reason to move.
Right.
It's a good reason to invest.
Yep.
And if you've been thinking about selling an investment property and the market's like, roaring, might be worth looking at selling. But interest rates are not a good enough reason for 99% of people to move.
Yeah, and rarely do people go, wow, the interest rates just hit a new low. I should move.
Right.
That could theoretically be the difference in your ability to buy a certain house.
Totally.
And get some of those pleasure pieces that you're looking for.
Yeah.
But that's not usually maybe 1 out of a million. It's the core motivation. And so in that sense, as we see rates going up, we haven't seen a huge impact on the market.
Yeah.
Because people don't move based on the interest rates.
Yeah. Interest rates don't mean nothing. They're worth considering, but they're not going to be the primary reason why I would advise somebody to move or not. Mm-hmm. So that's the first question is, do you have a good reason to? Most people are moving because they want more space, they want less space, or different school system. Mm-hmm. That's sort of, if we polled all of our clients over the last several years or whatever, those answers would rise to the top. So the question is, do you still want to do that? How important is that to you? And if it's like not all that important, again, regardless of interest rates, I'd probably say like skip the hassle.
Right. Moving is hard work, no matter what house you're buying, no matter what the rates are. Like it's
time, money, and stress. So even if you pay somebody, which this can be done, come in, pack everything up, move everything, put it where you want it, show up at closing. It's like, okay, you still have to be motivated enough to make it worth paying somebody to do that. Or, you need to do that yourself.
Yep.
So first question, do you have a good reason to? Second question is, how long do you plan on keeping it, right? So over the years, especially when things are going up, I can think back over the years where, maybe people are relocating here from a different city and they go, hey, I'm gonna buy something close to work or whatever. And, I want to know, how long are you going to keep this home? Like, obviously things change, but what is your plan? And when I hear, man, maybe 2 years, I'm like, hey, let's pump the brakes and talk about that. Like,
But Alex, buying real estate is the number one way to build wealth. So I want to do it. I just don't want to be here for more than 2 years.
it is, and we don't want to day trade with real estate. So
it's a great way to put it.
it's a good long-term investment. Always.
No houses are available
I say
on
always.
Robinhood yet.
Historically, it's a fabulous long-term way to absolutely build wealth. But you can't just buy anything. That's a different topic on how to, location and condition, and there's factors of how to buy smart. But the first question is, do you have a good reason to move? Second question is, what is your plan? But if you're planning to be there for the foreseeable future, 5, 7, 10 years or more, great. And then third, can you afford it? Can you afford it? And so if you have a good reason to, and you're planning long term, and you can afford it, it is always, always a good time to sell and buy.
Mm-hmm.
Show me an instance where it's not long term.
Right.
Now, if you say, hey, is it a good idea for me to buy and sell in 2 years? I'd say, I don't even need to look at the deal. My gut would say, probably not, unless you're an investor and you have a risk tolerance to take on the risk if things don't go like you're expecting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I would answer your question of, is it a good time to sell and buy?
Yeah. So you touched on the long-term aspect of real estate.
Yeah.
That is mostly related, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, to appreciation. And if you're willing to hold a property for 10 years, let's call it,
Yeah.
history would say that you are always going to appreciate enough to have it be a good investment. So talk about appreciation a little bit. What we've been seeing is really crazy. This is like unicorn type appreciation for the history of real estate. And where do you see that going in the future?
So let me say one other thing about real estate as an investment long term.
Yeah.
It's also a hedge against inflation. Okay? Like, there's articles. It's not hard to find an article right now on the cost of rentals going up. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know when it was, sometime probably 10, 15 years ago, I realized, like, okay, if you're getting a 30, 15-year mortgage, whatever, or if you're paying cash, like, in theory, your cost of living is locked in, hypothetically, for the rest of your life.
Right.
That's mind-blowing to me. So you're having this hedge. So if my mortgage payment is X, 15 years later, the difference that I would be paying for a rental or whatever, like, I can also use that to invest in other things. So just appreciation, hedge against inflation, and that's also not getting into the weeds of potential tax advantages and that kind of thing.
Right. So let's just say today, $2,000 a month buys you X house.
Yeah.
30 years from now, with inflation, it still buys you that same house as long as you're still there.
Exactly.
But if you were to rebuy that house in 30 years, there's no chance that you'd be spending $2,000 a month on it.
Right.
So you're locking it in, and from a kind of a hardcore budgeting perspective, it's such an advantage
You have
to
a
know,
fixed
like,
cost for the rest of your life.
I get to have this as long as I choose to have it.
Exactly.
And then if I choose to make a different choice and move, like, that's fine.
As somebody who enjoys thinking about wondering what's possible and thinking about these things, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
So appreciation, I'm hearing a lot of people say different things. This is the Alex Helton Real Estate Show, so I get to share my opinion.
Tell us what's actually true, Alex.
I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but if I did, I'm thinking 10% this year. I'm thinking 10% by the end of the year. I think we're in a little bit of a sort of a wait and see. First quarter was really strong. It'll be interesting to see the impact that, I mean, man, there's so many variables. And
Hmm.
we on our team really work on knowing what's going on, knowing how these different variables can impact, but there's so many, and there's so many outside of our control. There's so many that are happening that are just, they sort of like, you know, seemingly sort of pop up out of nowhere. So I'm hearing different things. I'd say 10%, give or take two. So 8 to 12 would be my guess. We'll have to revisit that January 1 and see how accurate or not that is.
Yeah. Historically, if you look at the really, really long term,
Yeah.
4 to 5%
4, yeah.
is the sort of expected appreciation.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's going to be ups and downs in there, but it
Mhm.
levels out to about 4%.
Yep.
So in that context, 10%, really, really strong.
Very, oh, yeah.
In the context of 30% year over year right now, that could start to feel like a little bit of a slowdown.
Mhm.
From a seller perspective,
Mhm.
uh, my parents actually were asking about the market and should we sell, and like
Mhm.
our neighbors sold and they had 10 million offers, and I said, you may not have that many offers. It's not necessarily because um, like the market has flipped.
Yeah.
It's just if it slows down a little bit, you can't necessarily expect to get crazy over asking price. Like what the market says it's worth is
Right.
going to start to be what it sells for, rather than, oh, they're going 10, 20%
Yeah.
over asking price.
Yeah. I think it's really important. We work with a lot of clients that are selling and buying, and it's easy to compare to other times, and it's also easy to um, focus on sort of like the negative side of this. And for me, I think it's really important, and we recommend our clients think this way as well, that think big picture, whatever negative it may be. So let's just pretend it's not 10%. I'm selling and buying and I have a good reason to, and I have a good reason to. All the questions are yes, I can afford it and all that. And let's just say prices are down 10%. And I get one offer after 45 days. If I'm making a simultaneous-ish move in the same market, it's all sort of a wash.
Mm-hmm.
I might sell lower than I had hoped for, but I should be able to take advantage of that on the buy side, right? And when the market comes back and starts going up again, if I've downsized, that's one thing. But if I have moved up in price or home, I'm only going to experience more upside long term.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I hear people talking, just we're talking at a grill out or something, and they're like, oh, I'd really like to move, but I'm gonna wait till the market slows down or something. And there seems to be this idea of I can sell my home when it's really, really fast, and then
Yeah.
buy it when prices go down.
right.
Almost, I mean, 99.9% of the time, it's going to be buy and sell in the same market. So
Yeah.
that should remove a little bit of the stress of trying to time things out perfectly.
I think
Like,
so.
um,
The only sort of maybe footnote I would put on that would be for clients that want something, if they have really specific needs. I'm going to make this up. If I'm just so specific on what I need, if I need 5 bed, 5 bath, you know this very specific thing, then if it's just ultra specific and I go out there in the market and I just can't find it, then it may be that you are going to have to wait until the market produces more inventory. But even with that, again, different podcast. You need to be working with an agent that has access to off-market properties, and you need to be honest with yourself and have that conversation with a trusted real estate advisor on the front end, so that you can just get clarity, like move forward or don't. Quicker you can get there, more you can focus on doing life and not worrying about it.
and even in that situation, on the sell side, most often you're waiting until that inventory shows up to sell. And we've worked with a number of people who had some version of that situation. We got the home ready, pictures, everything, and then as soon as that home shows up in the market,
Yep.
get the home under contract, list the home right away, and
Yeah.
then have those progress simultaneously.
Mhm.
Still a buy and sell in the same market.
Yep.
Well, anything else before we wrap this one up, Alex?
No, I think that's it.
All right.
Appreciate you co-hosting,
Well, it's good to be here. It's
holding it down.
my big TV debut, so I'm really, really honored to be here.
Sam Dahl's been our director of operation for 5.5 years. He's the glue that keeps this thing together. So appreciate you, and look forward to seeing you guys next time. If this has been helpful, share it, like it, comment. One of the things we talked about off air is we're doing this to provide value for the people that are out there that are interested, and for us, it's important that we get feedback on that. So if you want to hear about something that you didn't hear, please, comment, message, text me, whatever, and we will throw that into the mix.
And this is going to be available audio-wise in wherever you guys get podcasts as well. So like, subscribe, the whole thing there.
Sign up, do all the things.
Do all the things you need to do to make sure you don't miss this. So